Hello! Good to see you again for another episode of the Bible and 1 year with the Preacher's Husband. Today we are going through 2 Kings chapter 5, 6, 7, and 8. And tomorrow we're going to do 2 Kings chapter 9, 10, and 11. Now, I didn't even realize it yesterday until it was brought to my attention by a friend named Dennis that we are more than halfway done now. Yesterday marked our halfway day, and we are still moseying along. Doesn't even feel like we've been 6 months into this, does it? At least not to me. This has actually been pretty fun. I've really enjoyed it. We're going to start out in 2 Kings chapter 5 today. And the thing about this book is there is a theme with 5, 6, 7, and 8, just like there's a theme throughout 2 Kings, and we'll talk more about that at the end. But our first story starts out with Naaman, who was the commander of the army for the king of Aram. And he was a very important man. He was important to his master. He was very highly regarded because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man was a very valiant warrior, but he had a skin disease. He was covered in it. It just says skin disease in the Bible, but most scholars seem to think that it was probably leprosy or something of that nature. And even his wife, his mistress, everybody wanted him to do something about it. And they knew that this prophet in Samaria, Elisha, could do something about it. So he goes to the king, and the king's like, yeah, go. I'm going to send this letter with you to the king of Israel. You go, bring all this money and stuff with you so you can give some money to him and see if you can get this stuff healed up. So he goes there. Naaman came. He tried to get it. The king of Israel wasn't really interested in helping him none, so he just goes to Elisha's house, essentially. And he stands there at his house. Well, Elisha sent a messenger out. Instead of coming out himself, Elisha sends his messenger out and says, look, go wash 7 times in the Jordan River. It's all going to be cleared off. And Naaman's mad about it. He's just ill. He's ill as a hornet. He got mad. He's like, I ain't doing it. It's not going to happen. But then his servant said to him, you know, if my prophet had told you to go do something, some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more should you do it when he only tells you, wash and be clean? In other words, it's not that big a deal. Just go and get in this water, dip yourself in there 7 times, and you're going to be healed, according to what he says. Says that, fine, I'll do it. And guess what? Dun, da, da, da. It worked. It not only was his skin clean, it says then his skin was restored and became like the skin of a small boy. And he was clean. So it was like super smooth. I mean, it was like the words of Abraham from the hit TV series The Walking Dead. Dolphin smooth. Yeah, it was that kind of smooth skin. So he was healed up. Well, there's this other dude. The next section here is talking about Gehazi's greed. And basically what happens here is he was the attendant of Elisha. Well, Elisha decided he didn't want any payment for this miracle that he had worked for Naaman. So, but this Gehazi guy, he's like, wow, man, that's not right. He's got to get something for it. So he goes and does this little scheme, chases down Naaman. He catches up to him, and he's like, what's up, dude? And Gehazi's like, look, these dudes over here, they're the sons of these prophets. They've come to the hill country with me. Please give them some money. So Naaman's like, sure. He gives them twice as much as he asked for, and then he brings it back. And when he comes back, Elisha's like, where'd you go? And he's like, oh, I didn't go anywhere. And he's like, oh, and my heart didn't go when the man got down from his chariot to meet you, Elisha says, because Elisha knew exactly what he had done. God had showed him what he was doing before he did it. And therefore, Naaman's skin disease will cling to you, Elisha says, and your descendants forever. These were the words from the Lord through Elisha. So Gehazi went out from his presence diseased, resembling snow. In other words, he ended up with the leprosy. Naaman's leprosy went away, and now Gehazi's curse has become leprosy himself. Because when we try to profit from what God has done, we are asking to be severely disciplined or even punished for the most part when it's all. said and done. The next chapter 6 here starts out with another miracle of Elisha with a floating axe head. Basically, this axe head breaks and the dude cries out, I said, oh, master, it was borrowed. This is not even my axe head. Now it's in the water. What am I going to do? So they asked the man of God, and he said, where'd it fall? He throws a piece of wood in the water, and boop, up comes this axe head floating on the water. Another miracle performed by Elisha, by God actually, through Elisha. And then, of course, there's the Aramean War, which is next. And the point of the war is not necessarily the war itself, but it's about showing mercy and kindness to your enemies. Because in the end, they were basically telling Elisha was telling the king, don't kill these guys. The king's like, should I kill them? Should I kill them? Elisha's like, no, don't kill them. Give them food and water. Feed them so they can eat and drink. Then let them go back to their master. So he did. And when they got back to their master's like, I don't want none of that. I ain't gonna have any more of them. They're gonna whoop me. So he didn't have any more enemies. He showed kindness to his enemies, and he shows kindness to his enemies multiple times. Chapter 7, Elisha's words come true again. He says that about this time tomorrow at Samaria's gate, 6 quarts of fine flour will sell for a half ounce of silver, and 12 quarts of barley will sell for a half ounce of silver. This is important because they were in the middle of a famine, and food was super expensive. Drink was super expensive. Everything was super pricey because there was nothing to be had. So it was all very pricey and expensive. And of course, at the end of the chapter, his words came true. It happened. And then in chapter 8, the Shunammite woman, her land was restored to her as he said it would be. Then, of course, there were these kings. Aram's king Hazael, and he was not a good dude. He became the king after a king dies, and Elisha told him he was going to be the king, and he ended up being the king, and he ended up not being good. He ended up killing lots of people. Then Judah's king Jehoram, he did what was evil in the Lord's sight, of course, but for the sake of his servant David, the Lord was unwilling to destroy Judah, since he had promised to give a lamp to David and his sons forever. And a lot of days I praise God that God did not kill these kings off, because if he if he had killed these kings off, we probably never would have seen Jesus, would we? Or would we? We may have. What do you think about that? You think Jesus would have showed up the way he did if God had destroyed these kings and killed the line of David off? Or do you think something else? God would have found another way? I think he probably would have found another way. But it sure does play out better the way it is written and the way God did it. Because it's just amazing. The story is so cohesive and without blemish. It is a perfect tale all the way up leading to Jesus, the coming of the king, the forever king. And Judah's king Ahaziah was next. Remember Ahaziah that we talked about? He was the son of Jehoram, became the king of Judah. His mother's name was Athaliah. Remember her, the evil Athaliah? And he walked in the ways of the house of Ahab and did what was evil in the Lord's sight as well. So, there we have it for today. I hope this has touched you. If it has, click the like button and subscribe button. Of course, click the little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video, which will be tomorrow, for another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. We'll see you then.